This is KBCC 89.5 FM, Tracy, California, Peace and Justice Network of San Joaquin.
All right, welcome to the Voice of San Joaquin, and thank you for watching the Vigil show. And I'd like to thank my guest for coming today. His name is Jonathan Pruitt, sorry.
It's all right.
And he's here from the Catholic Diocese, and he's going to talk about environmental justice. So go ahead and explain what your position on what do you mean by environmental injustice.
So environmental justice is the fair treatment and meaningful involvement of all people, regardless of race, color, or any sort of background, religion, with respect to the development, implementation of and the enforcement of environmental laws and policies. And so this is basically just saying in layman's terms that environmental justice includes everyone from different types of backgrounds to be a part of the conversation that does affect the environment.
So it's not like you're talking about the weather or the sea, the snow or anything like that, right?
It does talk about that as well.
Oh, okay.
Now, there are some studies that we have the ability to affect the weather, but this includes stuff like, water quality, the air quality, those sort of things that we can affect.
Okay. So let me ask you, so tell me what's your position on the organization you represent and what you're trying to accomplish by reaching out to the people in Stockton and San Joaquin regarding, what your job and what your goal.
Sure. So my position is the Environmental Justice Program Coordinator at the Catholic Charities Environmental Justice Program. So ever since this program was started in 2005, we've worked on outreaching to different communities, specifically the disadvantaged communities and the parishes, to discuss environmental injustices around their area and their city. For me specifically, as the Environmental Justice Program Coordinator, my job is to outreach to everyone that has issues environmentally that are affected by the environment, to bring in their issues and concerns, to voice them out to city council or legislators, or to give them the ability to talk to whoever they need to talk to that's in office, who's a public official, the mayor. Really, we want to become that bridge for those communities so they'd be able to, in the future, be comfortable to present their issues and their concerns to those people in public office, city officials, city staff. Because that's really, sometimes it is hard when everyday life, people are really busy, so we understand that they don't really have time to talk about, water quality or water issues or issues in the air, because they are day-to-day working, 9-to-5 jobs. They have kids to worry about, and so it's very hard to really make time to talk to people about these issues. And so what we do is we want to become that middleman. We want to be able to become that that person you can talk to come to really tell us from start to finish when was this affected, where was it affected, when were you sick, who is it affecting at the moment, what have you done about, or have you done anything about it, have you expressed any concerns before. And so we do that, and then we also bring in our partners in on this to basically work with us on this. Because we have such a good partnership, good relationship with our partners, we've been able to work cohesively on issues locally and regionally. That's air quality, We also work on water quality, transportation, providing active transportation for citizens of San Joaquin County and San Joaquin Valley, really. And also green spaces, because that's one of the things that really does provide us oxygen to breathe in is green spaces.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. So have you people, you're involved with local, because I know the reason, like, the green space are very vital for our in Stockton.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people know that Stockton's name is the city of tree, and then we use a lot of, an environment are getting less and less and less than, with our resources, what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I do agree with you saying that our quality of life has been diminished that much. Have you noticed? Have you seen it?
Actually, you know what? To be honest, I've been raised very privileged growing up, and so I wasn't really experienced, or I wasn't very part of or involved in any sort of way that showed that I witnessed any low quality of life, really. When my friends and my coworkers, they help explain to me, or they let me know that, their kid has asthma, or my friends started to say that, they have asthma. Really, I didn't understand how prevalent asthma in the San Joaquin County or San Joaquin Valley is. And just hearing from that just goes to show that literally from like 12 or 15 years ago to now, it's been huge on, the air quality has done a huge impact on people's lungs and their way to breathe. And so from there, I wish I was able to experience that, because it was just such a huge surprise to me when I heard. Now it's almost a constant thing when I'm speaking with other people. They say, oh no, yeah, the air quality is bad. My son actually has asthma, or I had asthma now, and I'm having to take a lot of inhaler pain medicine. My joints are always sore. And so that in itself is just pretty big.
It's an eye-opening, right?
It's very eye-opening.
Well, that's pretty interesting about it, because so let me ask you this. So when you advocate for environmental justice, what are the people expect from you? Are they going to expect justice? Are they going to expect for counseling? Are they going to expect from you your service? What is that in general, and in terms of where you're coming from?
Really, we want you guys to be able to be comfortable coming to us to express your concerns and issues within your neighborhood. Sometimes, things happen regionally, like air quality, but there's also, access to sidewalks, safe routes to schools. There's, a school garden. If you feel like you should provide a community garden, that's something that's you can address to us, because we want to be able to work with, city officials or zoning, or we want to also work with anyone who focuses on being able to provide that source or that resource, and we'll do all we can to make that happen, to create a project. But we also want to be that advocate to get community involvement on, issues, environmental issues. We want to be able to bring in people to discuss, to go to the city council and be able to not be afraid to discuss, hey, we have a pretty bad roads are here, or we have pretty bad sidewalks here, or we have, trucks going through our residential area and they're puffing lots of smoke. That's not okay. And they be able to monitor that, or they be able to be aware of, hey, this recycling, there's a lot of trash, or there's a lot of, like, I see a lot of people aren't really understanding what recycling means. They're wasting a lot of it in their waste bins instead of putting it in the recycle. I'd like to start a operation or or a movement that gets my community or my residents in my neighborhood involved and learning to understand what it means to recycle, what exactly goes into recycle, what means to go into the waste bin. Because sometimes, sure, you can go, I don't know if there's an actual like sheet that shows, if you clearly, like it shows on picture what goes into recycle, what goes into a waste bin. Sure, they probably have some, but there's not ones that fully show exactly that's supposed to go on it.
Right. You know, a lot of things. I do. My mom and I we have 3 bins. One, it has the yellow bin, the green bin, and the brown bin. Brown bin go into general garbage. With yellow bin, you go to the green, like grass and no, I take that back. Green is the gardening and the tree, and the yellow is recycle. But a lot of people do not. A lot of people don't recycle styrofoam, or they don't recycle bottle. They do it in the brown bin, you know, so they're a little confused, but they're trying to as much as they can as far as that concerned, because you see people go into their garbage looking for recycle bottle for 25 cents, for 50 cents, things like that. So that's something. And also, I was just thinking about, because I read in the newspaper, there's a lot of going on California Street with people with mental health, you know. When they get their treatment, they get their medication, they're on their minds that are not fully aware. And in that street, in California Street, and I believe in Florida, in that corner, there's no sidewalk. And people could easily walk without even paying attention with car paths, because they don't stop. So they're coming from their drug treatment, and they're walking out with a busy in California Street, where they're very busy.
Interesting.
Anybody could get killed right there. But yeah, people don't see, you know. I see negligence right there. You know, I try to avoid, you know, the possibility of negligence. They know what they exist. You know, the city have heard of it already, but yet they're taking the time. You know, they rather see something get hurt first, than, because back then, a long time ago, if in order for them to change, life have to be hurt before they make a change, a devastation. That happened when 9/11. There was a rumor that they knew about it. They waited it until it really happened, and then they did to change it to protect our country. Now the same thing here. It's the same concept, where life has to be killed in order to change things happen for justice to turn. So that's what I have seen so far. You know what I mean? And so, you know, right now, even in the Southwest, West Stockton, you know, there was a parent that their kid died. I think the father and the kid, or the kid itself, passed, and because there's no stop. People drive fast, you know, clockwork. You know, now it's taking longer. It's not a priority. You know, it's like every second they already have their where they need to go, what priority goes in each district. You know what I mean? So they rotate. So I just think, you know, there's a lot of things that are not fully implemented right away, because it just have to be time. Government, it takes longer to change. You know what I mean? So far, that's what I have seen so far. But now let's go to the LGBT community as well. Okay, what kind of injustice that LGBT have problem with now? You think?
Really, I haven't actually been able to speak on that. Now, in terms of injustice, they've huge injustice from everywhere, from different types of areas, such as you know, work environment or school environments, big school environment, even with their circle of friends, or that in itself is an injustice. Now, environmental injustice, it would stem from the same issues that other communities have, but when we talk about involving LGBTQ communities, it's so that I could be able to outreach to a given group of people to include to be a part of the conversation, because they already have basically a set organization or a well accomplished relationship with their community, with their specific community. And so they be able to listen and hear on what are the issues they may have. And because of that, that's how we can work on outreach. The outreach works, it becomes very easy instead of having, because the only option you have is to go literally door to door. Unfortunately, there are some agencies or organizations that don't have the capacity to be able to go door to door. And so what we do is we want to be able to speak and listen to those issues within those groups, those clubs, those organizations that are already made. And just from there, really take from what we've heard and bring it back and form some sort of plan.
Okay. Now I want to talk about the deaf community. Okay, those is my expertise on that. I'm a youth advocate for people that are the silent community. Mm-hmm. Because most of the time when I fought City Hall for the right for CCC, the closed caption for the movie night, I fought for the interpreter. You know, I fought for diversity of the board when there was discrimination on the board. So it was a different era of 2 years ago that I had to fight for all the injustice I had to go through in order for me to get on the board, get an interpreter, which they didn't want to pay for a while because it cost money. So I fought for it. You know, once I got on the board, then people started listening, talking to me, and trying to, what we need, what do we need to change, what's going to be the avenue. But yet, the deaf community just look at me as envy, saying that look, you're doing a lot of good changes, but the organization itself who lead the pack, you know, as far as getting the LGBT community, you know, and the deaf community into a community barrier, as far as I know. Now, third time when I go to the city meeting where I don't have the opportunity to have an interpreter because either they dropped the ball or they didn't call in and they didn't have enough interpreter. You know, and here I am, I'm on the vote, and I have to make a critical decision on who I'm going to vote for on that plan. Okay, so that's my barrier. It's not always guaranteed I get an interpreter in the city hall meeting. Same thing tomorrow. You know, it takes at least by law it has to be 3 days. First it was 24, now it's 3 days. Now it takes 7 weeks to get an interpreter in order to get that meeting, the public meeting. Now, so I fought for the right for transparent for people with disability to have a stay. We used to have a section for the disabled on the city hall, but now since the new mayor came, so we kind of rotate everything. So we trying to adjust to it. You know what I mean? But now in the deaf community itself, you know, they don't have a voice to talk about, and they don't know what event are coming. Like the State Patriot Parade, they didn't know about that. You know, so they don't know advertise it. You know, that's why it definitely needs somebody to advocate for the deaf community because they really have no community barrier. And as well as the LGBT community, we have in the deaf community there's a gay, lesbian, LGBT by itself alone, you know, and we all support each other like a family. But yet, in their time when there are other resources need to be accomplished, like if they have problem with HIV, and they need to understand about STT. You know, all has to have to go to another organization like the Pride Center having mental health counseling, but yet they can't afford an interpreter. You have to provide that. So it's everything come across. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that the NorCal have grant for their interpreter to work with their staff and their client. But yeah, they don't have, and the other organizations do not have no grant to have an interpreter in their grant. You know, to work with the community. So I feel like you need to add that to the grant if you're going to be part of a community, in all community, diversity. And I always talk about Stockton, the well-diverse
sure.
the city, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it should have some kind of money set aside for that situation, you know what I mean? So I do still have a benefit of doubt. I have a lot of hope in the city. I love Stockton, you know, so I do believe that this city have done a lot more when I got in. you know. But sometimes I'm afraid if I get out of the spotlight, then everything can go back the way it was, you know. But I don't want to. So I just have to push myself to, okay, we need to get this taken care of. We need the deaf community, as far as, even, I'm not talking about just the deaf community, I'm talking about the blind community as well. I work with, I'm the director of Lion, okay, and the blind. And right now, we kind of find a mural to represent our city, our disability population in Stockton. And we hadn't find anyone that we could feel proud of, because there's a lot of mirrors about representing each population. But when I talk about disabled, we're talking about overachievement with of obstacle, whether you're deaf, blind, deaf, on wheelchair. You know, people who are working overcome a lot of obstacles, and they have family and everything. But we are not being acknowledged. So I had, you know, even the Lions, Stockton Town King, wanted us willing to pay for a mural in Stockton, but we hadn't found anyone willing to give us a building so we could have that particular masterpiece of Helen Keller to overcome an obstacle. So it's very challenging, and it's hard for me to go and ask where. I went across the street, I went over there, I went everywhere, and they say no. But other people is giving other organizations a shot. You know what I mean? But but I look at it this way. You know, you don't have to be disabled now, but later in life, you might need that special accommodation. You know, you might go in the car one day and you get hit in a car accident, and what happened? You lose a limb. What are you gonna do? That's the fix that we need to prevent people to understand that, okay, this person was normal, now he became disabled. Now he needs to work on it, overcoming his disabled in a way that needs to be treated. You know what I mean? So, and that's something that I look at, you know, and I always fight for that advocate. So, as far as all diversity, that's what I'm aim for. So that's environmental justice to me, you know, as far as my concern, you know. So, and that's why I have, fortunately, I have very, you know, the voice of San Juan King gave me the opportunity to communicate, collaborate, partner with the deaf community to understand what event is coming, who you are when people are coming, and learning sign as well. And so it's really that's my concern, my agenda as far. And as far as the LGBT community, you know, I must support. I do support them a lot for them. As far as they're doing a great job. You know, they went and had, I think this weekend they had a tour to the new building that are going to be open. Called the gay building on LGBT community right in the downtown area.
The Pride Center. Yeah,
right in that area. So that's also another thing that, you know, it's very thinking. But fortunately, I try to keep bridge on everywhere. You know what I mean? So now, as far as this concerned, as far as environmental, do you work with hospital?
We actually partner with San Joaquin County Public Health. So what they've been able to do was to provide us really any data, because they have the for the environmental health department, they have the data, the monitors. I forgot what the name was. I am drawing a blank.
That's okay.
It's basically it looks at prevalences and incidences of diseases, sicknesses, any of that sort of thing. That's what they look at. And so with that, we'd be able to get sort of an idea of what areas are being affected, and then from there they'd be able to say, okay, these people, this part of the cities is being affected because of this could be the reason. And so from there, really, we like to join in and use those materials that they can provide us, and we'd be able to listen and hear from, you know, maybe the issue was because of the water. Maybe the water quality was pretty bad, or maybe there's something in the water. Maybe it was their pipes. Maybe it was the air that was coming in, the air quality. So they probably had say if there's a specific, let's say if there's like a business that's using a lot of smoke, there's a lot of smoke coming out of the business, maybe that smoke isn't filtered pretty well, and so it's affecting that neighborhood. So that neighborhood would then speak on and show their concerns about that. So yeah, we do work with public health very well. Specifically with a hospital, I would say probably not, just because thankfully with the public, we work with the public health works with the other hospitals.
Right.
That's how it works.
Okay. So now, what about do you talk about, let me go to another topic as far as immigration. Do you help with their status? Do you help people with their, it's a lot of, for me in the Latino community, there's a lot of illiteracy in the Latino community. When they graduate, they kind of like push them out. Like they I don't know how they graduate, but they kind of pass them through. And so they don't understand that, as far as writing concerned, or what their cursor will be, and things like that. To me, that's an environment just because that's not fair for them when they grow up and they're not gonna use anything in life to develop a skill. As far as they have the attitude that, oh, I'm gonna be like my dad, working on a farm. I have seen that. I have seen in my own neighborhood. I have a son that graduated from high school. And I asked him, "Do you want to go to college?" "Oh, I'm not too smart." He felt kind of like oppressed and said, "No, I'd rather just become a mechanic. I'm gonna just do picking up labor and get cash." They just want this cash, they don't want to pay too much taxes. Mm-hmm. So as far as my concern is, what would you do at helping out reach out to the poor, disadvantaged Latino community?
So in terms of the immigration portion that you were mentioning, so Catholic Charities in itself, Catholic Charities is a big organization that does provide, we have offices in Modesto, Mother Lode, Sonora, and Stockton. And so we actually do provide immigration services that we be able to work with, consulting and referral program and they do provide workshops at times. For those who are wanting to get legal residency or work towards their legal residency. Now, and then I also forgot to mention, you did talk about the hospitals. We do actually have a health services department in Catholic Charities that does also work with hospitals. So they work, they're able to provide some grants, and I think what they do provide is a little bit of referrals as well. And they really do outreach to disadvantaged communities. So anyone who's low income disadvantaged, they could go to the health services, and those are usually the residents, the ones that are in disadvantaged communities, the homeless. They do come to Catholic Charities because that's one of our main missions, is to really help those that are poor and to help those who are in need.
So you feed the homeless well too?
We do actually have our own, based from our SNAP Ed program, we do provide a food bank. So we do have, I believe it's on every Wednesday. Don't quote me on that. Okay. We do have it on every Wednesday. I believe it's every Wednesday in the mornings from like 9 to 12 or 9 to 11, something like that. Okay. We do provide food bank.
Well, if you don't just contact at the end of the show, you'll get more contact with them. You want to know about the information about the food bank and what egg and what? You said egg meal, right, Will?
What was that?
You said a program called egg and what?
What was the egg?
I mean, provide food. You just said you need to provide food from 11 to 12.
No, for the time. It was just for the time. So I think it's on Wednesdays. I'm actually really not. I think it is on Wednesday. We usually do see a lot of people come in on Wednesdays. But I'm not really sure on the times.
But I'm talking about the food.
The food actually itself. We do. I believe they do provide really any sort of necessities or some perishable foods.
Like fruit or an orange,
they do provide.
Apple. So they grab it and put them in a bag, and people don't go in there and eat the food inside, like you go to the other shelter.
St. Mary's Dining Hall.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you. I think I did that. So you have different way of feeding the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. All right. Awesome. So now, okay. Now tell me about. Um, there was another thing when you were gonna mention. You did the immigration. You filled out the paper. Uh, you talk about education. Let's talk about education. Did the
Sure.
Catholic Diocese or part have a school, a private school that you go to, or anything like that?
Well, we do provide some sort of education, which is called parent education program. So the parent education program does provide, and they are in Spanish and English communities. They do provide education for those parents who are in need of really understanding how to raise a family, how to become a parent. What are some tips and tricks? They do provide workshops, hands-on workshops on what to provide for if your child is this specific age. What are some precautions to be aware of? What are some ways to keep your child involved, to keep it healthy? That's all I could basically give it a basic understanding. That's the only education I'm familiar with that we provide. Now I know we do have a vet fam.
What's that, a fam?
Vet fam. So
that?
VETFAM
Okay.
is it's basically a veterans referral center. So they homeless veterans. They really do work on homeless veterans, and that's predominantly what we have. Unfortunately, it's really prevalent in the San Joaquin County for sure the homeless, but also homeless veterans. And so we have a person there who's done very good work. She's done really go out and beyond, trying to outreach to homeless veterans to get them off the street, to provide them, temporary housing, to provide them the resources they need to, if they want to provide a job or if they want to just volunteer. And also there are some veterans who are retired that also go to her, that are probably disadvantaged or still in low income housing. And so they do go to her, and she provides them any sort of resources such as jobs. She provides them flyers. She provides them job readiness so she can work with them on their resume. And it's a very good program. The program does really well because when I come in and out of my office, I start to see, veterans. I see and that's what I like about Catholic Charities, is that out of all the programs, we serve, out of all the things, we really do provide almost all the things that make up of a community, of a city.
Wow, awesome. So let me ask you this: when still talking about education, do you talk about scholarship? Scholarship in your diocese?
Well, since we're a nonprofit, we don't provide scholarships in itself. Now, I'm not familiar if any of the programs have some sort of way to provide a specific scholarship. Really, as a nonprofit, there are some things that we can't really do. So since we're a 501c3, I'm not really sure where the money can be invested in if it becomes a scholarship. Now I know we can provide donations. We do give out donations as well to organizations that may need help, or give it to a like a community event. We do provide donations from that.
Do you sponsor those events to donation?
Sometimes, yes.
Oh.
I'm not familiar with any at the moment because, I'm not familiar with them.
That's okay. That's all right. Okay. As far as, did I get over regarding the community event you say? About what program do you donate? Like, for example, food? Are you talking about money? Are you talking about service? Are you talking about, what are they? As far as that.
We provide really a lot of things. So there are times where we do provide people's time. Really, some of the employees, in terms of volunteering, that's one of the ways we work on, is we have part-time employees who, they do so much within that part-time, but they also like to do more within the week. So they like to we do have partners who are in their respectable areas, they come to ask us, hey, we have an event, would you like to volunteer? And so we do have employees, even if they're full-time, because it's on the weekends, they like to volunteer to these things. So it could be like a silent drawing or silent
auction?
Exactly, silent auction. Or like to provide a maybe a community meeting where they needed some help with group facilitating, so we'd be able to do that. That sort of thing. That's the only thing I'm very familiar with, because honestly, our programs do a lot, and they do so much within a month's time. I just started this position December 3rd, 2018, and so within those times, you really, when I'm going into the office, I do my best to go to all the departments, and sometimes there are people that aren't there within the day because they're out there outreaching. Like we have senior services, and so.
Before you go there.
Sorry.
Okay, that's good. I mean, go ahead. I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna ask.
So senior services or immigration, of course, they're going to be inside the office, but they're very busy because they're case managers, so they have a huge workload of people coming in to work with legal assistant or to get immigration assistance. And then I believe we have a health services, and then SNAP-Ed, they work on outreach as well to provide nutrition education to disadvantaged communities, especially the Hispanic communities. And so, yeah, we really are a person who are either on the ground or working or in part of the conversation with city council or with city officials to work with any sort of any sort of project development that's going to benefit the city for health, nutrition, to provide housing, to help with communication with disadvantaged communities or with low income. So we do try our best to be a part of that, because it's really a huge, and especially in San Joaquin County, it's pretty prevalent, is that the issues we have a lot of homeless that are coming here. Okay. If it's not here, it's Modesto.
Okay, let me ask you this. So, let me ask you: Do you help people with voucher as far as homeless, getting people into those programs, those housing, for Section 8? Not Section 8. There's Section 8, and there's another program, other besides Section 8, where it's called Home Assistance Voucher, something like that. So, do you help them as well?
We don't work with housing authority districts, or we don't work with them directly. Now we could work with them indirectly by, if they need any help, we'd be able to work with support. We'd be able to share or outreach. If they have a community event, we'd be able to outreach to people and say, hey, can you pass this on? We'd be able to send out some flyers if they wanted to. But in terms of actually working grounds or in the ground working on, or in the trenches working on the housing things, we don't really focus on that. Not that I know of.
Okay, so because the reason why I asked, because people were asking, like, okay, I want to let's say I want to help you fill out my application. Like, I want an advocate. Excuse me, I want to get out. I want to get a house, and I'm not getting along with my roommate. And then you want to go to another place for shelter, so it won't be friends. But I know housing have an application online, but I know that a lot of organizations do help their client.
Sure.
To fill out online, make sure they have their because some people cannot follow directions. Something. I'm not saying they're not dumb or stupid. They just don't have the means to focus, to worry about their situation, where they have to provide the financial statement, make sure their income is coming at the low poverty level, whatever, and they qualify. So they just need, same thing with senior citizens. When you brought up senior citizen, what are the services you provide for senior citizens as far as housing, Medi-Cal? Do you provide assisted living as far as, when they're alone? Because sometimes there's a lot of homeless senior citizens do get abused by their family. Sometimes it could be with their caregiver. But and as far as I'm concerned, do you help those less fortunate as well?
In terms of housing, we aren't very based on our capacity, because housing in itself is a huge element, right. Huge, and so just in that sort of thing, we try to work with partners who need help on outreaching on housing stuff. We try to do our best to be part of the housing conversation. Thing is, we can only do so much because we've already gotten we have already a huge workload from the other programs on like assisted living. So they do a little bit of going to the seniors' homes, working on I think it's feeding or they do work on needs assessments. We do have a nurse on site, and so she works on the assessments to make sure that the seniors need that help. And so then we have people that go out there to the seniors' homes to work with them. We also have a good network of volunteers that are part of the senior services that work with them. They could provide, providing food, folding clothes, washing clothes, possibly. And then for what's the other thing? What's else? The seniors stuff. We do have another program I did actually forget. Oh, transportation. So we actually do have.
That's important too. Transportation.
Yeah, really important. We actually do have a program that just told us, and I just learned this, that they don't have an actual set van. They use their own van. They use their own cars, but they provide transportation to people who I believe are over 60 or 65 that are really
60 to 65.
No, 60 or 65 and over.
Okay, 60 to 65 and over. Okay, go ahead.
And basically provide them if they need to go to see a doctor, or they need to go to their appointments, medical appointments, maybe dentist appointments, or they need to go to the grocery store. They do that. They're able to work with that, and they're very busy on that. They really do their best on being available for seniors, and so really I don't see them within the day because they're just so extremely busy trying to get from one point to the other.
So let me get that. Okay, so for people that are there staff that are working with the senior, or they're volunteer?
They're staff.
Or the staff. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I mean, that's awesome. Sounds to me that the diocese
Catholic Charities.
Catholic Charities has been a huge asset for the city of Stockton then, because it sounds to me you're doing pretty much all the necessary that the city would not serve that much the need for the community. That's a lot. That's like a humanitarian aid. You know what I mean? That's what you guys doing. You know what I mean? And that's really encouraging. I never heard that until now. What you told me about the Catholic Charity does. I mean that's what you need about it, because every nonprofit organization have their own uniqueness. Like you say, helping out in the community in Stockton. So right now we're almost at the end of our time. So how do we to get people get more information to talk to you, contact you?
Well, you can definitely look at first, if you want to email me or contact me to voice your concerns or issues that you may have. You can always do it anonymously if you want, but the more the better. If I get to know you a little bit, it helps me to really outreach to you, I would drive out to the area you have issues with and be able to see it myself. I'd be able to, because from there I'd be able to then see if I wanted to bring in someone to look at it. And really we kind of do bus tours, for example. Those are sort of things.
What do you mean bus tours? To your organization?
No, well, what we do is we work with our partners as well. And if there's ever, so with some of our coalitions, when there's ever a sort of on the agenda, if we're wanting to work on a project and if we wanting to bring in some organizations from a national entity like Cal EPA or US EPA, or the California Air Resources Board, and we want to allow them to see, because sometimes it's really hard to explain what an area is, what's happening in the area. I mean, you could provide pictures, but you still don't understand all around the place, unless you want to make yourself out there, but you want to be very careful when you're trying to take pictures, because of course that's privacy issues. So what we do is we basically set up a date, and then we'd be able to work on logistics on seeing if we could provide a bus tour and then a walking tour. Maybe there would be a chance for people to actually walk on to literally see from the person's mindset, from their point of view, how it feels to walk just to school or walk to work or walk to a grocery store. And that's one of the things we also do is to work on decreasing food deserts, because we unfortunately in Stockton we do have still food deserts, and so with those food deserts we want to try to push and advocate for grocery stores. We do have some of these liquor stores that act as grocery stores, but that's the thing is, when you have in that space for liquor stores, those liquor stores are mostly liquor. They only sell liquor, but they don't sell groceries. And so we want to have that space where it's pretty safe. It's people are able to go in there without having to worry about people coming in, getting alcohol, being a space where people are basically soliciting. We want people to be able to go to an actual safe and full of variety grocery store, and in pretty much walking distance, like 1 to 2 miles away, because that's really what it's about. We know some people have to drive 5 to 6 miles away just to go to like a Walmart or a Safeway, but that's what we're trying to work on. In terms of also outreach, so outreaching to me, again, my name is Jonathan Pruitt. You can definitely email me at jpruitt, Pruitt, at ccstockton.org, or you can outreach me to my office phone, which is 209-396-6934. You can also check us out on our Facebook, which is the EJ Project. The EJ is for environmental justice, but it's just called EJ Project, or I think it's also Environmental Justice Project. We are also on Instagram, which is EJPCC Stockton, and we also have our own website, which is ejstockton.org. We really do try our best to provide workshops or events. We provided some community meetings before with the California Air Resources Board.
Okay, before I cut you off,
sure.
Do you have any event that coming up on your organization that you might want to share with people that want to go to your event?
Well, at this moment, no, because we're still working on planning. What I really do would like is if we have listeners from Lathrop and the Manteca area, it would be really great if I'm trying my best to do the outreach, but if you wanted to reach out to me, that'd be great, because I want to hear from you guys. We know that Manteca is working on their general plan. The general plan is really important, because the general plan is basically the vision that the city will take for the next, usually it's 20 years. So for Stockton, City of Stockton just finished updating their general plan, and it's going to go all the way up to 2040. So 2040.
Okay.
So there are cities right now that are doing the same thing. It does take time. It does take planning, but we want the residents from all different backgrounds to be a part of it, to be from the planning from beginning to end, because it's very important we voice everybody's concerns and opinions and issues, so we can find that common ground. And so if you're a resident from Manteca or a resident from Lathrop, please contact me. I want to provide a workshop for you guys. I want to provide, SB 1000, and the SB 1000 is basically a Senate bill that Jerry Brown signed in 2016 that says that for a California city's general plan, it needs to include the environmental justice element into it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
Very good. That's good to know about that. A lot of people probably would not know what it have in that clause, that it had the requirement. Because a lot of cities would not generally say that. They'll be talking, and you're kind of like overwhelmed by a lot of information. But that SB 1000 is pretty interesting.
Hopefully you'll start to hear it a lot, because I'm honest. I'm gonna try to get it ingrained in people's. Nah, I'm just kidding. But I'm trying to do my best to really get that, because the hugest thing is for Van Busker. The Van Busker issue was such huge, and that movement was just very huge. They did it's very successful. The way that movement went, people got involved. For me, I want to be able to provide that sort of thing, is to really, once people say SB 1000, boom, they'll be able to understand where was that from, what it's about, who. It's about city planning, and so if a city does want to do city planning and wants to update their general plan, we'll have residents involved and says, are you making sure you're including or implementing SB 1000? Is there environmental justice a part of this?
Did also ADA part of that general plan as well?
For Stockton, there was. I actually think you were actually the person that when I thought of was when I talked to Manteca. And so for Manteca, I said, hey, is this, are you providing translation services? Are you providing, is this in Spanish? And because it would make sense, because Manteca, I think on Wikipedia, as of 2010, 42.7% of the population are Hispanic or Latino. So sure, it would make sense to provide those needs of those residents, the ability to see what this is about, to be able to provide that language, so there's not a language barrier. And City Plan understands. Unfortunately, there are just those times where they try to go into a plan. They go into the planning, but it gets overlooked because it's very hard. But that's why for the environmental justice agencies, we want to be able to include everyone into that. And so, yes, they're actually working on right now to provide everything in Spanish. In terms of sign language, unfortunately, I don't know if they have that in mind just yet.
They won't have in mind because they're not really people associated with people going to their by the norm of people going to visit those plants, the deaf community as well, because when you go like this, there's a symbol it's called like translation. It's called interpreter service. So people when a city have this logo, it tells the deaf community they provide those services. I'm gonna go walk in, automatic, okay. But unfortunately, there's not enough advocating about that as well. But we could talk more. You know what? We're out of time at the moment. I'd like to have you back.
Yeah,
again,
definitely would.
And,
I definitely will.
I know we got a lot more to talk about. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching the Voice of San Joaquin County and the Voice of Stockton, the Vigil show. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Oh, okay.